does count.
Call this meeting of the Woodland Washington Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. on May 16th, 2024.
Did you hit record and
I
start
promised
video?
you I will do it, and I forgot.
At least I caught it this time. Sometimes I
Thank
don't.
you. Okay, we're recording.
And then
Recording in progress.
And unmute.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I can start the video too, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll try that again. We'll call this meeting of the Woodland Washington Planning Commission meeting to order at 7 p.m. on May 16th, 2024. Get that too. All right. Okay, getting rusty. The role of the Planning Commission is to hold workshops to review and make recommendations to the City Council on all manner of policy and legislative activities. In some cases, we act as a quasi-judicial board for land use cases, which can then be appealed to either the council, the hearings examiner, or the court. We will not be doing that this evening. Elissa, would you call roll?
Tel Jensen,
I'm here.
Brian Matson,
Present.
Sharon Watt,
Present.
Shauna Gothorn,
Here.
Robin Zorich.
Here.
Okay, so looking at our agenda, before the first item, I see a presentation. Is that? You got a presentation. All right. Let's see that then. Or should I?
Do you need to approve the agenda?
I just, you know,
I don't know.
I was kind of wondering.
Or, and then the last one?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's. All right.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Does anyone oppose that? All right, hearing no opposition, the motion carries, and the agenda is passed as written. First up on the agenda then is citizen communications for items not on the agenda. So, just to kind of share what we're going to do here, I have a list of several people who signed up to speak for about something that's not on the agenda. So if you're here and you want to talk about something that is on the agenda, that is also fine. We will do that as the agenda items come up. But for now, I'm going to start off with. Okay, that's it. The list I've got here, and just, I'm excited that we've got folks here. This is great, unusual for us, so we like it. Democracy in action. We've got quite a few names on here, so I'm going to ask everybody to limit their comments to 4 minutes each. And when I call your name, if you would come on up to this microphone here and tell us your name, where you live, and I will start a timer, and we'll hear what you have to say. And then we'll keep moving right along. That seem relatively clear? All right, fantastic. First up we have, all right, forgive me, it's either Marv or Mary Wakefield. Marv,
Either
all
way.
right, fantastic.
So I have 4 minutes?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you 4 minutes.
Well, I'm Marv Wakefield, co-owner of Woodland Shores RV Park at 1090 A Street, just behind the AM/PM store and gas station. The reason I'm here is that, I'll try to do this quickly. In September, we had a letter sent to us from the city that said that it had been brought to their attention that we may be in violation of Code 1772.100, which states that no one is permitted to stay in an RV park more than 90 consecutive days in a year. So this was kind of an alarm to us. We've been at the park for 30 years, and by the way, this is our manager, Esther Roth and Tom Roth, and they have been at the park for 29 years out of the 30 that we've been in business. So maybe you people are familiar with our park. So we were kind of in shock over this statement that we had to do something immediately if we were in violation of the code. So we met with Travis Goddard several times and talked about our situation. And this is something that's just a real burden on us as park owners and a hardship for the people that are staying in our park and have stayed for quite some time. So we took his suggestion. 2 weeks ago we went to the city council and spent time there and explained our park, how it works, and also asked for a grandfather clause to let us continue to practice the way we have been without restrictions on the amount of time you can spend in the park. After hearing our testimony, at least 2 or 3 of the people on the city council said they would give us a grandfather clause immediately if they could. And the mayor said, well, this is something that we can't really do that. We don't think we're allowed to do that, but what we'll do is we'll put a workshop together, and I'm really, making this concise, workshop together and let you know what you can do or can't do. And in the meantime, they would impose no fines on us until we're informed of what they come up with. So we're here tonight. Esther will be the next person up. We're here tonight to explain our situation and see if you can give us any insight in what we can do to come up with a solution to this problem about this restriction on how long you can stay in a park. And maybe since we don't have much time, I'll turn this over to you, Esther, and hopefully you can get through yours. And do you have to be? Ooh.
I'll just, I'm gonna, run down this
Okay.
list, but
But
if you're not on
Yeah.
the list, we can put you on. So
okay.
that's no.
Yeah, because it kind of goes together.
Sure.
But we're here because we need to do something about this, and either I guess we can't get a grandfather clause or do something to change this type of a restriction. It's something that would work for the city. And the one thing we can't find out is why this law exists. We asked them, they couldn't tell us. Nobody can tell us what the purpose of it is. And we think we know what the purpose of it is, and we think we have a solution that would work for us and for the city both. And we can get into that later if you want, but I'll turn this over to Esther now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marv. Esther. Oh, okay. Esther Roth?
It's Rothy, but that's.
Rothy.
Yeah.
Esther, thank you.
Okay.
And I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um,
I wrote a.
bend that mic down too.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I wrote it down in the letter, and you have my letter.
Yep.
My name is Esther Rothy. I've managed this Woodland Shores RV Park for 29 years with my husband, Tom. I'm here tonight with the owners to ask that the city code WMC 1772-100 to be revised to fit the needs of the world as we live in today. In March of 1995, I was hired 5 months after the business started operating. I had to go and fill out a card at the city with all my information, letting them know who was in charge and responsibility for the day-to-day business. At that time, I was not informed of the city code that restricted the length of stay, or was I given any regulations of how the park should be run or operated. Because I personally did all the grounds work, I strive to maintain a full, clean, neat groomed park. We take pride in our park. This isn't just our job to my husband and myself. We live on site, so this is our home. Being a park manager is not a 9-to-5 job. If you care about the people who live in your park, it becomes a 24/7 responsibility. After our first year there, the flood hit in February of 1996, which meant a total cleanup, and the customers that was living here volunteered to help us clean up and put the park back into shape within a week. I learned a lot from that flood. I learned to keep our A Street and the storm drains on A Street clean and free of debris, as everything from that street washes right down into our park. I have continuously cleaned A Street during the following years. We bag all debris, leaves, cans, bottles, diapers, etc. I have kept the city sidewalks power washed. Due to my age and the medical reasons, we now have a maintenance man that is doing a great job. For 24 years, I kept half the park in monthlies, the other half in dailies and weeklies. But our business changed in 2019 when the pandemic hit, and our governor told everybody to stay home, stay safe, and do not travel. We didn't have dailies and weekly customers coming into at all. We started getting people coming in and talking about losing jobs and homes. All they had was RVs and needed a place to stay. Most of them had to take whatever jobs they could get due to many of the businesses was downsizing or closing. I enjoy my job with all the interesting people I have met, but I have strict but fair rules which are printed out and given to everybody who is interested in renting. Because our society has changed, I give this packet out before I rent to anyone. This is so everyone is treated the same way, and they know what is expected of them to stay in my park. We have 20 cameras excuse me, that is continuously viewed by us. We can view anything that goes on during the night. They are set to see our park and local businesses around us. We have helped our neighbors with incidents that they didn't know was going on their property. There has been times when the Woodland police officers has asked to come to view our cameras. We are good neighbors because we just don't protect our property, we have protected others around us. I feel that our park is a safe place to live. I have single women who have told me the only reason they live in our park is that they feel safe to live there. It's also walking distance to shopping and restaurants. I talked to Amanda Hogan this last week, and she sent me a file about all the permits and paperwork that was done when the owner started their business. In that file, I found that there was a 30-day length of stay, which I'm just going to add, I was not told. I didn't see a date, but it must have been in 1993. I also found a copy of the letter that my owners in that file that they had wrote to the city of Woodland about requesting a variance in the code on April 22nd, 1994. This letter is attached. I could not find a response to their letter. In 1998, we were contacted about a code change that Cowlitz County was going to make, where all the RV parks in Cowlitz County was going to have a 3-day stay restriction. My owners, Tom and myself, with a group of customers, joined at the RV park all the RV parks at the hearing in Kelso. That decision was made in the favor of the RV parks. There would be no limit restriction for monthly stays. For the past 25 years, I ran our park with that decision. That decision still stays for all the RV parks in Cowlitz County. I have called and asked RV park in Clark County. They do not have any restriction on the limit of stay. So you can see how shocked we were when we received a letter from the city September 1st, 2023, stating that we may be in violation of Code WMC 1772-100. This code was changed in 2019 without our knowledge, without a notice given to us, so we had an opportunity to respond to those complaints.
Esther, I'm gonna stop you,
Okay.
if that's all right. We have the,
Mr. Chair, can I give her my 4 minutes so she can finish? I think it's really important you folks hear this.
fantastic. Yeah, which one's you?
Don, Barbara, I'm not on the list yet.
Okay, all right. Yep, please.
I'll yield my time also too.
Fantastic. All right.
Okay, thank you. I believe and feel our park has proven that we are an asset to the city of Woodland. I'm asking for the code to be changed, excuse me, where there is no restriction of length of time for monthlies in any RV park in the city limits. I further believe that the code should be changed for the fact that the new RV park on Belmont Loop should have had the right to prove themselves a good neighbor and respectable business. There's a big need for RV parks in the city limits to allow long-term monthly renters. There are people who want to live in something they own, not have to rent. Buying a house has become not affordable, and most of the cost to rent a decent apartment is unbelievable. In a normal month, we have anywhere from 50 to 75 people wanting to rent, but we cannot accommodate them. My understanding of the complaint is anyone living in an RV long-term are low-life, criminals, sex offenders, etc. I've had in the past 29 years teachers, doctors, nurses, lawyers, Woodland police officer and his family, alienated officers, a council member, and many contractors who have worked on many of the buildings, roads, railroads, dams in our area. We have customers that come to our area to get jobs. They need to stay in their RVs until they can find homes to purchase. Others have sold homes and living in RVs, waiting for the new homes to be built. My customers live in our park for many reasons. Some don't have cars. We're walking distance to shopping. Some need to be in the area because of doctors or jobs. Our owners have kept the rent at a reasonable and fair rate. Keeping the code a 3-month limit will put unnecessary hardship, stress on our current customers and any future customers in this unsettling economy. My ending comment is in the last 30 years, we have been inspected by Cowlitz County Health Department yearly with no major violations. We have also been inspected by Woodland Fire Department with no violations. We welcome the City of Woodland to inspect our park yearly or as often as they feel is needed. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my park and my customers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Esther. And we will, make sure this is into the public. Unfortunately, just to keep things going and in order and, keep it moving smoothly, I'm just gonna go straight on the list. So, if you're not on here, you're on, then perfect. Then we'll get to it. All right, outstanding. Next up, Jacqueline Mansfield, did I get that?
Yeah,
Right.
I think my time was for.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Moving right along then, Shelley Busseau? Oh, all right.
Nobody wants to follow that, Esther.
Esther brought the house down.
I don't blame her.
Okay, I unfortunately am having trouble reading the next name. Looks like last name might be That's you? All right, come on up.
Well,
Wait, just so we get the whole thing on the recording, wait until you come up to the microphone, if you don't mind.
Tell there's a gentleman with his hand up and I almost hold his hand arm up.
Okay.
Well, all I got to say is my name's David Trott. I have traveled this whole country, and the only states I haven't stayed in was Maine and Florida. And I've also stayed in quite a few places in Canada. But I have never ran into this kind of restriction. Now, the biggest restriction that we used to run into was the RV had to be at least not over 10 or 15 years old. But never on how long we could stay. In fact, most places encourage you to stay longer. So that's basically all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, David. Okay. There's another one that, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at this. Maybe Walker?
Sir, if
Brian,
you're not on the list, we can put you on the list afterwards, if that's what your hand's for. Okay, just,
Okay,
I
thanks,
didn't want
Brian.
you to hold your arm up forever.
Don't worry about this. This is just for, anybody who wants to speak will have an opportunity to, whether you're on the list or not. We'll just go in an order first. Can you read that name?
Nope. I can't.
Okay, all right, hey, all right, it's number 35, Unit 35. Who's in Unit 35?
Well, that's me, I yielded.
All right, okay.
Sorry.
Does anybody have any minutes left over? Could I take 2 minutes?
Let me just run through the list, and then absolutely, you can speak again, for sure. I just want to make sure everyone else has a chance. All right, Valerie Bardu.
Somebody else can have my time basically every
All right, that's it. You did too well. No, not yet. I'll get back to you, Mark, I promise. All right, Sharon? Sharon. And I can't, Pierce.
Yes.
I got that, all right.
I guess I don't look like the typical RVer, but I am.
Tell us your name real quick.
Sharon Pierce, Woodland Shores, 51. My husband and I were in and out of that park. It was like our home base for like 15 years. Sometimes we left and we might be gone a year or two. It might be because of work or just pleasure. But we always came back because of Tom and Esther, of our friends there. It was nice. My husband died 40 years ago. I'm 80 years old. I'm living on one Social Security check. I've checked apartments, and I cannot afford one. $1,200 to $1,500 for just, you don't even have a bedroom. I have my name on list for subsidized senior housing. 3 to 5 years, I may not even be here to need another place to live. The shortest one list I'm on now is a year. And I have the option when my name comes up. I do not have to do that. And I'm not sure I would, because I enjoy where I am. I have friends there that help me. They have supported me. You can't always get that any place you go. So I hope you think about a lot of these things. I know I'm safe there. I'm still active in the evenings, and I'm never concerned when I come home at night and I know these working people are in bed. I've just have never had an issue there. And I don't have a dog. I have a cat that would do me no good.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Got Rick and Peggy Husted? Husted. All right. Maybe All right. Noted. Thank you. Moving on then, Nathan. Yeah, totally. Sorry.
Hello, my name is Nathan Bardew. I've lived at Woodland Shores for the last year. It's been a lifesaver for me. It's something where I can live within my means, which has become an extremely tough thing to do nowadays. With the cost of rent, getting into a place, the challenges that cause you being able to get into a place. I'm near family. Near my employer. I'm near healthcare where I go to the VA in Vancouver and Portland. The place is spotless, well taken care of. Esther's extremely tough. In the most positive way, the place is spotless and clean and a nice place to live. And I want to continue to live there. And I hope you guys can help that happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nathan. Okay, I see Paula and Walter Donnelly.
Hi. So we came down here from Alaska,
Just for the record, tell us your names.
Paula and
Walter Donley.
we came down here from Alaska, my husband for work. He does masonry. There is no work in Alaska for quite a while. You've been in about 4 years. And we had been separated for 2 of those 4 years, almost 2.5. And my job turned remote when COVID hit, so I was able to come down here and be with him. We still do have a home in Alaska where we would like to retire someday, hopefully. But in the meantime, in order for us to even survive, we're living in our fifth wheel. Our fifth wheel is like a tiny home. It is our home. I work out of there. My husband, he's able to get to his job down here. And Woodland Shores is not using your police resources or your fire department resources. We're not them. It's a clean, quiet, safe space. And most of the people there are just working like us. And we would love to be able to continue to live in Woodland Shores and do our jobs and support the community. And Esther, you have her letter. I hope you read it again. Just take the time to read it again. I don't think you guys should base a rule on the fact that some people think that people who live in fifth wheels or trailers are not as much. Because we are. We're contributing to the community. We are charitable, as Princess Savannah, who was here last week, could tell you. So just please read Esther's letter again and take it into heart. I mean, come look at our park. We're not a problem. Hopefully we're helping the community. That's all.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, next up we have Bob Nelson.
My name is Bob Nelson. I'm one of the members and developers of Woodland RV Resort, which is the 19 acres that we've been attempting to develop for the past 5 years. We had this conversation about 4 years ago when COVID hit. I remember you. And I'm responsible for getting this code treats RVs and motor homes as tents. everywhere in the United States. Okay? It's been changed in Creede, Colorado. I passed all of that information on, where they segmented RVs, motorhomes, and then tents over here. Even your current code, the one that was signed off, references tent campers. At some point in time, these people, and I've been through the park, I mean, I've looked at the competition, nice place. They deserve a decent home. When we were talking 4 years ago, it might have been the concept of rich people downsizing baby boomers like myself going on vacations all over the place. But now it's not that. It's the only really affordable housing left as an option. Okay, and my intent fully at that point in time, as an investor, I came into the situation saying, I cannot build a business on a temporary foundation. And so I am responsible for getting those days moved from 29 to 90. But the full intent was 90 days on was my request, 1 day off. If you're good standing, you can come back to that. Okay, and that's how Wilson RV Resort operated for years down there. And basically, COVID hit, and everybody headed for their office, home office. And that's where the conversation stopped. Then when I saw the code come along, it said 90 days, and you cannot return 1 day. That's not, I think it was Stephanie that I was working with. But, you know, that's not what we were talking about, the whole thing. I actually spent $2,500 on a code, not change, but modification, in addition to, okay? I'm not saying change that tent camper code. I'm saying there needs to be an addition of a whole new segment of which I will provide you, each of you, documentation tonight that you can look and see what Creede, Colorado did. You can see my application for code enhancement, of which I paid $2,500 for. I paid $240,000 for the power lines to be moved off our site, and you have those nice power poles all down Old Pacific Highway and up Green Mountain Road. Those are my big, nice power poles. Anyway, you know, we've contributed to we've took that property out of Forest Reserve. I wrote checks 2 weeks ago for $46,000 for property taxes. Much as they're contributing to the community, I think they should be left intact. I don't view them as competition, okay? I view them as a tremendous need, and every time I've driven through there 5 or 6 times. It's a nice, clean, to your credit and merit, it's a clean facility. We are attempting to develop what I term an RV resort. Our pads are bigger, we have 10 feet of grass in between. It's kind of a whole different concept, but it's predicated upon having you cannot have an RV investment, an RV park in the Northwest without a long-term housing component. Because in the wintertime, much like that park in Belmont Park, I've looked at it all winter long, nobody there, okay? You can't have the nightly in the wintertime in the Northwest. You need the long-term component. And so basically, I've got I've got 5 sets of documentation I'd like each of you to review and take into consideration, because it does create this additional segment which would facilitate their operation. They're not tents. These are livable homes. Anyway.
All right, thank you, Bob. All right, excellent. Michael Kimbrough.
Thank you. I'm Michael Kimbrough. I'm living in Unit 40 at Woodland Shores RV Park. It's a temporary arrangement for me, even though it may not seem like it to you, because I've been there 2 years now. And my current plan is to be there 2 more years if I can. I'm an aerospace inspector. I was working for Zodiac Aerospace in Bellingham, California when the COVID came through and they shut the plant down. At that point, it left me in a situation of being unemployed. I looked around and there was nothing similar because everyone else was struggling at the time. My options were fairly limited. Now, Lifeport here in town came recruiting up there for some of our people, and at the first time I spoke to him, in fact, I told him no 3 times because I couldn't. I said, I actually live on a boat up there in Blaine. It's condoized. I own the slip. so I can't just get rid of it. I mean, it's hard to find a place like that, and I finally got one. And someday I want to retire to that. So I couldn't just change everything, but I had to have a job. And they made a pretty generous offer and persuaded me to come down here and see it. And this RV park is the only thing that made it possible or economically feasible for me to come down here and take this job. If I'm unable to stay there, I will be pressured into a situation of taking my retirement early, which means I'm going to live the rest of my life on a reduced Social Security benefit because I'm not eligible for the full retirement yet. I really need some way to stretch this out. And if we go to a 90-day requirement and toss people out, or for that matter, if you just say, okay, it's only the city, so I go outside the city, now I've got to commute. It makes it where it's just not financially, it doesn't pencil out. The cost-benefit analysis just doesn't work anymore. Woodland Shores is what makes it work. So please don't throw me out, and please don't send me home.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so I'm to the end of the list, so I want to make sure that folks who didn't get on the list have a chance. So let's start in the back, just because we saw your hand first, and then go over here next. So come on up and tell us your name, and start a timer for 4 minutes.
Hello, my name is Parker Swaggerty. My wife and I moved to Woodland Shores in November of 2022. My wife works at a tap house in town, and I'm a union millwright apprentice. So I used to travel around a lot for work, and we stayed in many places all over the nation, and this is by far the most well-kept park and has one of the better communities that we've stayed in. We actually know our neighbors and are friendly. We, can rely on each other for things if we need things. I would like to ask you guys, the city council, to change the code to allow people to stay indefinitely, not simply to grandfather us in. I ask this firstly because we consider this place to be our home. And secondly, that there aren't many options for affordable housing around the Woodland area. And lastly, that there's been a lot of really good people that have lived here in the past that are upstanding members of the community, and prohibiting people in the future from becoming that would be a shame.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Parker.
Sorry, as he said, I work at...
Tell us your name real quick.
Sorry, I'm Kendra.
Kendra.
As my husband said, I work at a tap house in town, and I feel in our time that we've lived in Woodland, we both have became a part of this community. During the fall, we go out and take part in all of the town activities, even the movies in the park. And like he said, we are very friendly with our neighbors. We actually live right next to Don here, and I don't know how many times I've gone over when I've made too much of something, and I can always see if he wants some leftovers or what, or even
And I take 'em.
yeah, or even when I was getting rid of some pots and pans, I walked up to Randy, or I first stopped with Don and then talked to Randy. We're not just an RV park; we're our own little community there. And we support each other and we care about each other, and not just that, but it's also a safe place. And as a woman, not just a woman, but a short woman who probably wouldn't do too well defending herself, it's a safe place where I can feel comfortable walking around at night to go do my laundry or take my dog out. And I really appreciate that I have this space there versus us living in Portland and not feeling safe. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. All right, I saw this fellow over here, but you'll be next. All right, come on up, sir.
Hello, my name is Christian Aldana, Aldana. Miss Esther has actually been running the RV park longer than I've been alive, apparently. So, I just want to say, first, I want to thank her publicly. I'm actually from Houston, Texas. I moved here about a little more than a year ago, and I was calling around RV parks because that's where I bought mine. And she was the only one who was able to bring me in. And I then, like a few weeks later, I drove 3 days straight to get here through the snow, going through Idaho. And so I'm a plumber by trade, and I, I've been able to, set my roots down here in Woodland, and it is a phenomenal area. And, I feel very lucky, and I wish more people would have that opportunity to, be up here in the Great Northwest. So I do want to thank Miss Esther for keeping our community very safe and very clean. I've never had problems. I've even done some work around the park, some plumbing work when we needed it. So yeah, it's been great. Hopefully I can stay longer, maybe buy a house one day. But yeah, and like I said, I want to say thank you again, and thank you for hearing me.
All right. Thanks so much, Christian. Yes, come on up.
He's also a park bouncer.
Is that true? An official title?
All right, my name's Stephanie Dash. I've lived at the RV Shores for about 2 years now. Definitely wasn't a dream of mine to live in an RV. I have one too many evictions on my rental history from when I was in college. So now making a rent for an apartment is like 4 times the monthly rent. Nobody can do that unless you're making a 6-figure salary. So I used resources to get myself an RV. I financed it. The place that I bought it from delivered it to Shores, so I don't even have a truck to pull it if you do take that 90-day into effect. It'll literally uproot everything. We're no different than any of you. We work hard, we take care of our families, and we're just trying to stay afloat. That's it.
All right, thank you so much, Stephanie. Anyone? Yes, come on up, sir.
Hi guys, my name is Riley Matson. We all appreciate the opportunity to talk today. We didn't come here to bore you with our personal stories and stuff, but it's important. This is what we call humanity. Okay, and I'm looking y'all in the eye, and we're feeling the vibe here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about me, a little bit about the code, and a little bit about us, and then I'm going to sit down. Okay? I work at Walmart. I'm from Texas. I've been here for about 4 years, and I've stayed at Woodland Shores every day. I spend almost all my money here in town to all these little businesses. We all do. We contribute economically. But more importantly, we view ourselves as a member of the community. We vote here. We have our doctors, our friends, family. Everything that we have in life is here. And if we're not able to live here for some nebulous code that was written in the 70s, now, let's visualize what was going on in the 70s. We had free love and hippies, and there was crazy stuff going on, okay? Well, this is not the 70s. Things have changed. I'm an advocate of free love still. But things have changed, okay? The code was important then for various reasons. Today, not so much. We don't have any potential problems at our park because they're well policed by caring people. So if the code written in the 70s seems even more nebulous today, let's do what we would all ask. Let's go ahead and eliminate that code. That's my thought, and I'm going to leave you guys with it. Okay, please. It was said at the council meeting by, I think his name was Kevin, that the code can not just be changed, it can be eliminated. So, we are the only city out of the many, local counties that even has this code, which is weird. I mean, we're talking about not Calumet. I think you mentioned Clark, King, right, King? Yeah, all these big counties with millions of people, and it's just Woodland that has this innocuous code. And we are not in the 70s. We're mature, successful contributors here, and we vote, and we value our time in Woodland, and we want to stay here. I am the door guy at Woodland's Walmart, okay? And I'm not sure this town could survive without my charisma. All right?
All right, thank you very much, Riley. Yeah, it was Riley Madsen, yeah? Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Marv, did you want to say a little bit more?
Yeah, so you can see the personality in our park easily, but I think it all comes back to what was the city worried about? Why did they establish this code? Was it to keep people away like this? No, I don't think so. I think their thought was they were thinking back in the 70s again, is this going to turn into trailer trash? Is this park going to be a mess? Is this going to be a nuisance? Are people going to add on to their trailers with tin sheds, store things all around? You've seen them. They were there. They're not like that now. These are wonderful RVs that they live in, and I think what the city has to worry about is not how long people stay, it's how the managers handle the park. Do they keep it up? All they have to do, they in the letter they sent us, they wanted to come and audit our books all the time. When did a person come in? When did they leave? Did they move to another space? It would take probably 1 day a week for them to sit in our office and go through our books. On the other hand, they could eliminate this, drive through the park, once in a while, whenever they wanted to, and if they found a problem, let us know, and we take care of it. If we don't, issue a fine. We'll pay for their inspections. We have to pay for the inspection from the health department, but we would want something more reasonable, but they wouldn't have to worry about auditing. Drive through, take a look, inspect it once in a while, and have that in the code. That would take care of these problems. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make the park any better if they stay less than 90 days. In fact, there's more traffic in and out. Esther said she's had more problems in the past with dailies and weeklies than anybody because they don't stay there, they don't care, and they can create a lot of nuisance and get out of there. So we think their issues could be taken care of in a different way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marv. Yeah, we got one more. Come on up. Tell us your name.
My name is Donna Butler, and I believe I am the only one here that is not from Woodland Shores, maybe, and I'd like to speak on behalf of them. I've lived here in Woodland for 45 years, and occasionally drive by there and agree with all that they've said about the park. It's nicely situated along the river, right there at the edge of town. Not aware of any problems. I think it's a nice situation for them. I'm not in favor of a code change, but I am definitely in favor of a grandfather clause being written up for this park specifically. We have a new one that's come in on Belmont Loop, and that's a whole different scenario. And that was strongly fought against by the businesses there. I don't know, 40, 50 businesses. They got hired an attorney and did everything they could to stop that park from coming in there. That's a whole different scenario completely. And so I realize you're the planning commission and you make recommendations. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
All right. Thank you, Donna. All right. Anyone else? All right, great. That was Donna. That was actually a good segue to something else I wanted to talk about. Just a little bit about how that's kind of arcane city processes work. We as the planning commission, we do make recommendations to city council. They can adopt our recommendations. They should. We're very smart people. Or they can totally reject them, or they can kind of sort of agree and make little changes around the edges. And over the years, all of that has happened. So I guess that's all to say, like, you all coming here tonight is very important, and it's a good start, but it's not going to be the end. You know, you're going to have to keep making your case, and especially to the city council. And you know, on that note, there have been big changes in city government since these things have been addressed. You know, obviously when the code was first written, but also since it was amended, you know, within the last few years. So it's kind of a whole new ballgame. New faces to talk to and convince and interact with. So keep at it. Yes.
Hey, I know we didn't expect a decision tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair. But in discussion.
Yes.
It's just general discussion. Can you guys give us maybe some ideas of why this might even be necessary?
That's a really good question, and that's you know, my memories of the beginning of this with, you know, Sharon, you might have been.
I don't remember. I don't remember this coming up before, but.
I remember the conversations I remember were with, you know, an entirely different commission, except for I think Sharon, you were there, but it's been years now, and I remember even the folks who were, not everyone was on board. The code that exists was not at the recommendation of, you know, either these commissioners or the planning commission that existed at the time. That was what the city council adopted. I remember we did have a couple of members of the commission who were in favor of some like addressing RV parks and maximum stays in some capacity. But they also were very clear about Woodland Shores not being the issue and wanting, you know, to allow Woodland Shores to keep operating as they have, because it's it's obviously a valuable, valuable asset for the folks who stay there, and also just the community generally. And Bob, I think that might have been. Yeah, I think that might have been when that might maybe why it had come up.
It's interesting, during our pre-app, we talked about Woodland Shores, and everybody around the table says, yeah, we know that code, but we don't enforce it.
Right.
We haven't enforced it for years. And that was the end of the conversation, because we were trying to establish how do we deal with this investment perspective on a longer term. And that's where I came up with 90 days on, 1 day off. And that allowed the department management, somebody was doing that bad, okay, it can't come back to that spot. But that, we thought, was a workable situation. If we didn't have to do it all, that would be great.
Sure.
But ours would be a combination of short-term and long-term, and even maybe some tiny houses.
Yeah.
I'm almost in the concept of seeing what happened on Belmont Loop to say, let them handle the night. That's what they should be doing. They're right on the freeway.
Yeah.
I'm willing to compete with them for nightly, but that's going to fill them up, but only half of the year.
Yeah, and unfortunately, saying we're just not going to enforce the code that's on the books is, that works as long as it works, and then it's not sustainable forever, right? Because
Right, doesn't mean you can't use
Yeah.
additional code added.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, these are not tent.
But
And-
do you really want Woodland to be the only city in all of
Right.
these big counties that has this ordinance? I mean,
Yeah.
without justification.
Yeah, so I guess, we can't, we do have the rest of our agenda to get through, and
Just as a point of clarification.
Be quick.
Woodland's not the only county,
Sure.
city. All over the country, this is happening. And people have worked deals with the municipalities to work around it. That code's been on the books for 40 years. And nobody's really kind of tried to tweak it other than Creve, Colorado. Go on the internet, look at it, look what they've done. They've defined RVs and SUVs and that sort of stuff. But then they have a category for tent campers.
Okay.
Just like it's been on the books for years.
all right. Yeah, Esther, please, real briefly, because we do have to move on, so.
I just wanted to say, 20 days on, 1 day off. Do you know what it takes to tear down an RV?
Yeah, yeah.
Move it off, and come back on, the expense? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous to even think.
And I think, I think that brings up an excellent point that, which is, again, to me, just demonstrates the importance of this public involvement that we're seeing here, is that, the folks writing the code and voting on the code don't always, they have their own experiences, right? They have their own lives. They don't have the experience that everybody else does. So it's really important that you be involved in. And there are opportunities, to join, commissions and groups and even the city council, even be the mayor if you want. So, all right, I gotta cut it off at some point. I'm gonna say these three folks, and then we gotta move on. Yeah.
I just got one question.
With Marv, Esther, and Tom's permission, I would like to invite each committee member to take a drive, come down and visit the park. They'll give you a tour. It's a diamond in Woodland. It's one of the nicest looking businesses around, the way it's kept. And with their permission, I'd like each one of you to make an effort to come down and look at the park. Come visit me at cocktail hour at 6.
That's good. Yeah. That's perfect. And I think, I can't tell you what to do, but I recommend extending that invitation to other folks in city government too, so.
Well, I was just going to bring up, Esther, they don't allow overnight campers anymore, which is good. They don't allow tents. I pulled into parks that I was afraid to stay at because you drive in for an overnight and you got tents on both sides of you that look like they've been living there for 6 months. There's trash all over the place. You don't see that at Woodland Shores. There's no trash laying around. You see it up the river though.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Miss, yes.
So what happens now? We all set our piece. What's the next?
Yeah, so this recording is part of the public record. And from here, it's kind of, as I understand it, it's up to the city council.
So you said you went to the city council and they were talking about a workshop? Has that happened?
No,
We don't
they
know.
told us to come to you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so,
They kicked it back to us?
well, but not formally, because, so what,
Yeah.
my guess is what will happen is that the mayor or the city council will ask it to be put on our agenda, and then we will have a workshop, and we will have, instead of it being an item not on the agenda for you to talk about, it will be an item on the agenda. Typically, the way it, most often goes is we'll start with a workshop just to kind of familiarize the commission with the issue, give folks in the community a chance to see what's up, see it on the agenda. Then we'll move on to, a public hearing. And behind the scenes, there's a whole lot of work that the staff does to get some code together. And then at that public hearing, again, you can make comments, and that is when we make a recommendation to the city council. So it's kind of,
What's a workshop?
it's not an especially fast process. A workshop is kind of our tool for talking about an issue that we're not going to vote on, basically. So we've got, after we approve our minutes, then the next item on our agenda is a public hearing for a whole pile of minor code changes that aren't about policy, they're just about making the code kind of more legible. And that, at the end of that, I hope we will vote on a recommendation to city council to either adopt those changes, reject them, some combination of those things. So it's it's a little bit cumbersome, but it's the best we've got for now. And it's trying to balance getting things done in a timely fashion with making sure everybody has a chance to, give input, and so we're making informed decisions with.
Well, I can tell you, sir, we're not going anywhere.
All right, that's good. That's good.
Will we be aware of when?
Can I chime in?
Oh, shoot, I totally forgot that we have folks online. Not just folks online, we have the mayor online. So, you know, I don't know what there are,
Mayor's on?
I don't know what we do with the mayor, but yes, you can chime in.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it. I know that sometimes it's a little delayed here, whatever. So I've been bouncing back and forth trying to hear it between the two. So if I say something, just pardon the whole thing. But I think I heard a comment or a question that came through regarding kicking it back to the Planning Commission, whether or not we were having a workshop and those things. So at the council meeting last Monday, a week ago this Monday, the discussion was there. A lot of the council members were in favor of looking at different things, whether it's change the code, do a land use permit, doing something differently for Woodland Shores. And so I said, hey, let's take that action item and let's do something with it. And so Travis Goddard, who is our planner, is out of town this week and next week. So on the 20th, which is Monday night, we will not have anything on the agenda. But on June 3rd, we will be having a workshop on RV parks inside the city limits. And so there's where I would encourage people, come back, have a dialogue, have a conversation. Everyone is encouraged to be part of the conversation and discussion. So that hopefully clears up some of this conversation of whether or not there had been a workshop or not. It's scheduled for the 3rd of June.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thanks for letting me chime in, sir.
Of course, of course. My pleasure. All right, so June 3rd, there will be a city council workshop. I hope you all could hear that. So that'll be your next opportunity. Then at some point, it will come back to the planning commission if they, you know, assuming that they want to make a change to the code. And we do, so there is public notice for all public meetings. Easiest place to look on for that is on the city website. And then we put notice in the Reflector?
Yeah.
So there's also notice in the Reflector if that's easier for you. And one other place.
We posted at City Hall and the post office.
And the post office, yeah.
If you just post it to Esther, she'll let us know.
All right. Okay, fantastic. So, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We're gonna move on to some stuff that's probably a little less interesting to you. Please stay if you have the time and you're interested. No problem if you have to go. We appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to come out. Yeah, good to see you again, Bob.
Is this a new one?
Oh, okay.
Is this right down by the exit?
Yes.
They had a different configuration down there, didn't they? At one point?
I don't remember it looking.
Doesn't remember
Yeah.
some of the other?
It looked a little different.
And these are just
All right.
tiny.
Thanks, Bob. Okay. All right. That was exciting. We don't.
You can move up if you want to.
We don't know.
This will be the same presentation.
Yeah, that's too bad. It's because I didn't bring the donuts. Okay, well, so next up on our agenda is approving the minutes from October 19th, 2023. If you had a chance to look through them, that's great. I did. They looked great to me.
I
but-
move that we approve the minutes from October 23, 2023.
Second.
Just like yesterday, it's so fresh in my mind.
Music to my ears. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Small changes, October 19th, 2023. Anyone opposed to approving the minutes as written? Hearing no one opposed, the motion carries. Great work. Now we're moving on to a public hearing. This is item 24-0043. Wait, did I get that right? No. WLD-2024-010, public hearing for retooling our code, and I believe we do have a presentation now.
Yes, I am Maylene Garcia DeBoard. I'm the Associate Planner for the City of Woodland Community Development Department, and I will be going over hopefully a brief overview of the Retooling Our Code project, which is a zoning text amendment. This is an overview of the work plan. If a recommendation is made on the items I'm about to go over, there was already an introduction workshop on this topic on May 6th, I believe, and if that recommendation is made today by the commission, that would go to the council for the first reading on June 3rd, and then June 17th for the second reading. I'm going to do my best to keep this brief while also providing enough context that what I'm talking about makes sense to anyone who's not dealing with these types of things every day. So I'm going to start kind of in chronological order with Title 15. Most of the changes that I'm going to go over are not necessarily policy changes, but more restructuring and reorganizing, correcting typos, updating processes to reflect what's actually being done. So starting with Title 15, there's a section in our public notice chapter in the code that talks about when notices need to be mailed to neighbors within 300 feet. And it talks about SEPA projects. SEPA stands for State Environmental Policy Act, and it has a public comment period that's typically about 2 weeks. And it requires that we mail the notice of application to neighbors within 300 feet of the project only when we issue what's called a DNS, a determination of non-significance. That's something that happens at the end when we issue our formal decision. But it's not typically the process that the city uses most often. Most of the time we use something called an ODNS, an optional DNS, and that lets us do the public comment period for that DNS at the start, the same time that SEPA public comment period is running. And right now the code does not require us to mail the notice of application to neighbors within 300 feet when we use that ODNS process. And I think just to create more public involvement, it makes sense to require that we mail the notice for all SEPA projects and not just when we're using that DNS process. So just adding language including that ODNS process. And that one is, I guess, one of the few policy changes within all of these changes proposed. I'm going to move on to Title 16. This slide is meant to provide some background into a lot of kind of the issues with Title 16 and the way it exists today. So in 2023, at the start of 2023, in January, there was a code change that amended the big chart in Woodland Municipal Code 19.08.030. And that chart outlines who has the decision-making authority on all planning permit types. And so in 2023, Ordinance 1494 was adopted, and that made it so that the Planning Commission and the City Council are not involved in the decision-making process. Instead, it's the hearing examiner that makes the final decision. So planning staff make a recommendation to the hearing examiner, and the hearing examiner issues the final decision. When that chart was updated in Title 19, the actual Title 16, which outlines the subdivision code, was not updated. So you'll find a lot of specific references to very specific staff positions and processes that don't actually apply anymore, and I'm going to kind of go over what those are. So there's a lot of language that talks about the Planning Commission and the City Council and how they're making the decision, but since that's not really the case, it makes sense to remove those references and replace it with the hearing examiner, who is the one that is making the decision there. And then the code, it was written a long time ago, and we've had a lot of management changes over and over again. And with that comes kind of a change in who has responsibility on certain processes in the city, but also the types of positions we actually have. So there's a lot of references to the clerk treasurer, which isn't necessarily a position that we have. It references the community development director, the building official. We do technically have a building official. It's just a third party, and that third party isn't involved in the subdivision process at all. It talks about the public works director, it talks about the public works supervisor, and it talks about the city fire chief, which is another one we don't have. We third party, we have a contract with Clark Cowlitz Fire and Rescue. And so replacing all of these specific positions with the term responsible official allows the code to be accurate regardless of how city management decides to delegate responsibilities. So it doesn't change any policy, doesn't change any of the things that are done. It just doesn't say that the public works director is in charge of specific items. That definition of city responsible official, I think it's pretty general, and it might take me a minute to find
I
it.
kind of thought the whole point of using the term responsible official is it's not defined, right? So
Right.
you don't have to call it all, each one of them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you know, because just trying to get ahead of like any potential, because you know, this makes perfect sense to me. I don't want to. I'm not trying to throw sand in the gears, but just to, you know, avoid ambiguity in the future. I don't know if there's. It sounds like that is addressed, and I just missed it. So, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. So here's another minor policy change in Title 16. Excuse me, I don't believe there's a policy change on this slide. So the first one, it says amend submittal requirements. Since this is dated code language, it references a lot of turn in 25 hard copies because at the time we distributed our applications as hard copies to everyone who needed to review them. But we don't do that. We send things online. We also allow applicants to submit things online. So I think replacing that language with just submit a copy. That can be an electronic copy through Cloud Permit, which we use to process land use applications, or if someone wants to turn in a hard copy, we can scan it and upload it for them. There's also some language with subdivisions, they end up getting recorded with the county, and there's some language about filing it with Cowlitz County, and we do have property within city limits that is in Clark County, so it makes sense to include that language as well. There is a section of the code that references the fact that pre-applications do not get charged a fee, pre-applications for subdivisions, but when our land use, when our fee resolution was updated, that included all pre-apps having the same fee. So there's just some dated language hidden in this Title 16. And then that fourth one down, there was a decision made in 1973. I believe it's in Title 2 of WMC, and it talks about how anytime the code is referring to any person that they will use the male pronoun. So you'll see a lot of language that says when the city clerk treasurer does this, he will do this. And I think it makes sense that when we're updating the code, we update those as well, just to say they. It's a little more neutral. And then the signature blocks that are required for their final plat, it does not include the fire responsible official, even though the fire responsible official does need to, I guess, metaphorically sign off on the application, so it makes sense to have that physically on the plat as well. The short plat lot standards are, excuse me, I want to get the right information. I'm sure.
Let's do it. That's the expiration date one, right?
Oh, the expiration date, that probably is what it is, thank you. There's expirations, and I think this is that one policy change that I was referencing. So the code outlines a 3-year expiration, but state code outlines a 5-year expiration, and so the city code isn't necessarily consistent with the state code, and so updating that, it's recommended.
Cities can be more
Yeah.
strenuous, but they can't be more permissive than the state, and they're just lining up with the state agreement, right?
Mhm.
Makes perfect sense.
And then I'm going to move over to Title 17. There's a lot of references to the Uniform Building Code. The city and the state have both adopted the International Building Code, so just correcting those references within the code. There are also just a few typos. The word ensure is misspelled a couple times. There's a parenthesis missing in a place. Just fixing those as we find them. And then there are also a few code references that when you're reading a section of the code, it refers to another section, but the section that it refers to either doesn't exist or it's just not the right code section, and it points you to something completely unrelated. So just kind of fixing those code references. And then same thing as the subdivision submittal requirements. There's a lot of language about multiple hard copies, when again, electronic copies are kind of how we operate now, so just making that language more consistent with our current procedure. This one might be worth putting off until that workshop, but if the city did want to maintain the, I guess, current intention within the code on RV occupancy standards, this language is more. There's a typo in there, I apologize, in a RV park. But this code change would have the same intention as what's written currently, but be a lot more clear on how you can operate within that code, and kind of what the boundaries are. So the current code says that, sorry, I don't have what the current code says on here, but the kind of proposed workshop there is that no one recreational vehicle shall be occupied in an RV park for more than 90 days in any 6-month period. Right now it says something about how an RV. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. And then in Title 17, there are just kind of some reorganization items. So there's a lot of sections of the code that they're hard to find if you're looking for them, and if you don't know that they're there or where they're at. It's difficult for me sometimes to find a lot of code that I'm looking for, let alone an applicant or a consultant or a planning commissioner or someone sitting in the audience. And so right now, so Title 17 is the zoning title, and there's a section within that talks about the hearing examiner. Minor variances do not require a hearing with the hearing examiner, but the minor variance code is found within the hearing examiner section. So when you're looking for it, you would never think to look under the hearing examiner chapter.
The intent was they didn't want anyone to pursue a variance.
Well, so it makes more sense to kind of create a separate chapter within Title 17 outlining variances in general. You can also find the major variance kind of criteria of approval within that same section. It's a little hard to find, and I think that creating a new chapter, putting all that variance information together, here's kind of what it looks like visually. Over on the left, those purple arrows are pointing towards the way that the code is organized for temporary uses, special uses, conditional uses, and it would flow really nicely to just add variances.
Totally.
It was already organized that way.
That's no relevance at all.
And the only place that you can find those kind of criteria of approval for a major variance is in the list of which permits require a hearing with a hearing examiner. And the chapter is titled Creation of Land Use Hearing Examiner. So if you wanted to apply for a major variance and you wanted to know how your permit was going to be approved, you'd need to open up the hearing examiner chapter and then open up the Creation of Land Use Hearing Examiner section. And that took me a long time to figure out. Then in that same vein, Title 19 outlines the requirements for site plan reviews, among a couple other things. And one of those sections is the public notice requirements section. And it talks about the appeal of administrative approvals and determinations. And those don't necessarily require a public notice, so again, it's kind of hidden in a place that doesn't make sense. There is already a section about approval, review, and appeal authority, and so it makes sense to move it there, because more applicable to that section. There's also a section within the public notice requirements chapter that talks about the appeal of SEPA-related issues and administrative matters. There's already an appeals section in the SEPA chapter, and again, if we're looking for something SEPA-related, it should be in the SEPA chapter. And then in that same section in Title 19, under public notice requirements, there's a section called Reconsideration in Response to SEPA Comments, and it outlines what staff need to do with comments during that SEPA public notice period. But again, it should really be moved to the SEPA commenting section of the SEPA chapter, because Title 19 isn't necessarily specific to SEPA.
I got a question. Well, maybe it's not a question, it's just a comment. So, the very first thing you talked about was sending public notice on all SEPAs, right? Now, Clark County doesn't do that for type 1s because type 1s don't require public notice, right? And most of the time, a SEPA is going to be tied to something that requires public notice anyway, right? But for one of the most common type 1 permits that require SEPA are wetland permits. And I don't think I'm always for more transparency over less, right? I always would want to err on the side of caution. So as long as it's in your mailing budget, who cares if you send public notice, right?
Yep.
I'm down with it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just like kind of big picture, I think these changes make sense. They're going to save you effort. They're going to save the city money. So looks great. Any other thoughts, questions for Elena?
Nope. Fabulous.
Okay. Well, if there's not any more discussion.
All right. I'll
can-
take that as my cue. I move that we recommend approval of these suggested changes with the exception of the RV stay limitation.
I guess, hold on. Thank you. I'm gonna put that on pause just to check boxes. Because it's a public hearing, I already opened the public record, but I want to ask if any member of the commission has an ex parte communication about this or conflicts of interest that they want to declare.
No.
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 No, neither do I. Great. Open public testimony. Todd, if you want to give some testimony, you're welcome to. Donna as well. Anyone else who shows up? Yeah, all right. Come on up. Tell us your name again.
Donna Butler. I think you should include the RV. The council is going to look at it, and they're going to deal with the Woodland Shores, and I think that's going to be separate. They're going to probably grandfather that in or make some land use. I don't know exactly the procedure that'll be necessary for that, but this is regarding what's going on at Belmont Loop, that's the setup, and they agreed to that when they developed that. When it went all through the hearings and things, that was already an agreement. So I think it's easy for you to just approve the whole thing without making an exception.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else around, so I'm gonna close public testimony there. And now, please try again, Brian.
Okay. Donna, I want to address your comments. Thank you for you're always here, and I think that's awesome, so thank you. I personally feel that if we pass a law for one RV park, we have to pass it for all of them, right? The rules have to be the same for all the RV parks. Now, I'm in favor of getting rid of it completely based on the compelling testimony I've heard tonight, but that's just my opinion right now. I think that RV parks are best to police themselves, right? RV parks, a lot of them have this, year model. Your RV can't be over 10 years old or whatnot. That's them policing themselves. I mean, we've all, I don't know if everybody here has driven through Longview on the way to the coast, and you see a couple of those in there. I think that's what the people were worried about when they did this 90-day stay. But I'm listening to people that they would have to leave their friends. You know what I mean? You're breaking up a community by forcing them out after 90 days. And I just don't see the point in it. Housing is harder than ever to obtain now. Why make it any harder on people than it has to be?
Do we want to become a city that's full of these RV parks? I mean, we've already got over there Woodland, and we've got Woodland Shores and Horseshoe, and now they've put this Belmont in, and we don't have a place where they come and go, which that was kind of designed for. And I have a friend in town, her relatives came and there was no place where they could just come, because it was all filled up with people that were.
That needed a place to live, though, right? I mean.
Right.
So this is, I think this is an important conversation, I think.
For the workshop.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm still.
I hear it.
Yeah.
I still move that we would.
Okay.
Go ahead, please, before I.
Well, I just want to say one thing. If they have to move every 90 days, they're probably just going to go on the street and then come back for, another 90 days. It seems ridiculous.
The code says they can't do that.
So, all right.
Well,
So I think,
some parts, different places say different things.
Right, go back one page.
Just again, kind of a little bit bigger picture thing. The purpose of this long-term retooling in our code project is kind of
In his letter.
just really straightforward issues where, extensive deliberation and public involvement are not really germane or important. And I think the RV question is kind of falling outside that domain right now. So just to kind of keep us moving along and germane to this particular agenda item.
You want me to try it again?
I do.
No. Somebody else do
I
it.
do. It would really.
Okay,
appreciate
I move that we recommend approval of the suggested retooling of our code suggestions with the one exception of the RV park stay duration, which will be subject to an upcoming work session.
I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Clerk, we got a legible version of that?
And I can watch the recording.
Okay,
and get the rest.
fantastic.
I got most of it, but I'll fill it in.
All right, any?
Want me to talk faster?
Twice as
Any
fast.
discussion on the motion? No? All right.
I totally agree.
Sounds great. Why don't you call the roll for us then, Alyssa?
Shauna Gothorn?
Aye.
Are we voting?
Sorry.
I was like, wait a minute, aren't we?
The
voting?
last minute change of mind.
I was still thinking about what she said, and I was just sorry.
Okay. Robin Zork?
Aye.
Sharon Watt?
Aye.
Brian Mattson?
Aye.
Tel Jensen?
Aye. All right, fantastic. Motion carried. Great work, everybody. Any other business to tell us about?
Nope.
All
Thank you.
right.
No town gossip? Well,
All right, well, we'll move on to that.
Don's got-
That's,
I got Don.
yeah. Thank you so much. Again, staff, thanks for all your work. Great job running the meeting, Melena. Appreciate it. Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks for coming out, Donna, and everyone else who did. Thanks for watching over us, Todd. And with that, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
So I want everybody to know that we had a very successful.
Recording stopped.